Farmers have always been some of the most creative problem solvers on Earth. When equipment wasn't powerful enough or didn't exist yet, many decided to build their own solutions, often with welding torches, spare parts, and a whole lot of determination. But while some of these homemade modifications were clever, others were downright dangerous. From car turbochargers strapped to old diesels to tractors turned into makeshift flamethrowers, today we're counting down 10 dangerous tractor mods from the past. These aren't your average workshop tweaks. Some of them turned reliable farm machines into rolling hazards. Stick around until number 1, because it's a mod so reckless it could turn a tractor into a death trap. Number 10. Homemade turbocharger installs. In the 1970s and 80s, when farmers wanted more horsepower, some turned to salvaged car and truck turbochargers. Bolting a turbo onto an old diesel tractor might have sounded like a cheap upgrade, but it was often a recipe for disaster. Without proper cooling systems or reinforced engine parts, these homemade turbo installs pushed engines far beyond their limits. It wasn't uncommon for head gaskets to blow, pistons to crack, or entire engines to seize up under heavy load. What started as an attempt to save money often ended with costly breakdowns, and sometimes dangerous engine fires. Number 9. Oversized rear tires. Another common power mod was fitting tractors with oversized rear tires. The idea was simple. Bigger tires meant better traction and more ground clearance. Farmers hoped this would help them work in muddy or uneven fields. But oversized tires also raised the tractor's center of gravity, making it much easier to tip over on slopes or uneven ground. Rollovers were already one of the biggest dangers in farming, and these modifications only made them more frequent. In some cases, tractors even flipped during simple turns, turning what should have been an upgrade into a major hazard. Number 8. Removed roll bars, ROPS delete. Starting in the 1970s, manufacturers began adding rollover protective structures, or ROPS, to tractors to save lives in rollover accidents. But some farmers, especially those working in orchards or low-clearance barns, found the tall bars inconvenient. Others thought removing them would save weight or improve visibility. The problem was that without ROPS, tractors returned to being deadly in rollovers, and farming remained one of the most rollover-prone professions. What might have seemed like a harmless mod turned out to be one of the most dangerous choices a farmer could make, and countless accidents in the past proved just how necessary ROPS really were. Number 7. Homemade dual-engine mods. When one engine wasn't enough, some inventive or reckless farmers decided to double up. Homemade dual-engine tractors popped up in barns and fields, where people welded or chained two engines together to create more pulling power. While impressive in theory, these Frankenstein tractors rarely worked as intended. The engines often vibrated out of sync, belts and chains snapped, and the sheer weight of the modifications made steering unpredictable. In some cases, frames literally cracked under the stress. These dual-engine experiments were dangerous not only for the operator, but also for anyone standing nearby when parts came flying off. Number 6. Front-mounted plows and blades. Not satisfied with factory attachments, some farmers built massive homemade blades and mounted them to the front of their tractors. These improvised bulldozer-style setups looked intimidating, but often overloaded the steering system and front axle. Tractors simply weren't designed to handle that much forward weight, and collapses were common. In the worst cases, the front axle snapped entirely, dropping the machine nose first into the ground. What was meant to save money on heavy equipment frequently ended with a broken tractor and a very dangerous situation for the driver. Number 5. Exposed belt pulley mods. Before tractors came with modern power takeoff, PTO systems, many farmers used belt pulleys to run equipment like threshers, sawmills, and corn shellers. Some modified their tractors to run extra pulleys or belts for more output. But these setups were often poorly shielded. That meant huge, fast-spinning belts were left exposed just inches away from the operator. All it took was a loose shirt sleeve or a piece of rope to get caught, and the results were devastating. There are countless old reports of farmers being pulled into these pulleys, leading to severe injuries or worse. While effective for powering machinery, Exposed belt pulley mods became infamous for how dangerous they were. Number 4. Homemade exhaust stacks. In the 1960s and 70s, tall chrome exhaust stacks became a badge of honor on trucks and tractors alike. Farmers often built their own, welding together steel pipe and mounting it directly to their tractors. While they looked impressive, belching out black smoke, they were rarely safe. Poorly braced stacks sometimes came loose while the tractor was in motion, slamming into the operator or starting fires in dry fields. Even worse, sparks from these crude exhausts could ignite crops during harvest. What started as a way to make tractors louder and meaner looking often made them fire hazards on wheels. Number 3. Weight block overloads. Weight blocks are important for giving tractors traction, but some farmers took things too far. By stacking enormous amounts of weights, sometimes concrete-filled boxes or even scrap iron, they pushed tractors well beyond their designed limits. While this did help with pulling power in the short term, it also put massive strain on axles, frames, and tires. There are plenty of stories of overloaded tractors snapping frames in half or collapsing wheels midfield. Worse, when one side failed before the other, the tractor could flip violently. These homemade super heavy rigs proved that too much of a good thing could turn deadly very quickly. Number 2. Converted cars into tractors, doodlebugs. During the Great Depression, many farmers couldn't afford tractors, so they converted old cars and trucks into makeshift machines known as doodlebugs. While clever and resourceful, these builds often cut corners on safety. Brakes were usually stripped down or missing, weight distribution was uneven, and steering was unpredictable. On uneven ground, these doodlebugs were prone to tipping, and their exposed drivetrains made them hazardous to operate. They were a lifeline for desperate farmers, but also some of the most dangerous homemade machines ever to see a field. Today, surviving doodlebugs are collector curiosities, but back then, they were accidents waiting to happen. Number 1. Homemade flamethrower attachments. At the very top of our list sits perhaps the most outrageous and dangerous tractor mod ever imagined, the flamethrower attachment. In the mid-20th century, before chemical herbicides and modern land-clearing equipment became common, some farmers took matters into their own hands. They rigged up crude flamethrowers using pressurized fuel tanks, sprayers, and open burners, mounting them directly onto their tractors. The idea was to burn weeds, dry brush, or even tree stumps quickly and cheaply. The problem? These machines were disasters waiting to happen. Most had no flame controls, no heat shielding, and fuel lines that could rupture under pressure. All it took was a small leak, a backdraft, or a gust of wind, and the operator could find themselves driving a fireball across their own fields. Historical accounts describe entire crop rows and barns being accidentally set ablaze, with fires spreading faster than farmers could react. In some cases, tractors themselves went up in flames while still running, leaving nothing but charred steel behind. It was this combination of raw ingenuity and reckless danger that gave homemade flamethrower tractors their infamous reputation. They may have been effective at clearing weeds, but the risks far outweighed the benefits. Eventually, fire departments and agricultural regulators cracked down, banning such devices in most regions. Today, these wild contraptions live on, mostly in stories, photos, and the occasional grainy video clip. Reminders of a time when farmers pushed the limits of creativity, often at the expense of safety. That was a wild ride. From jury-rigged turbochargers to full-blown flamethrower attachments, these dangerous tractor mods show just how far creativity can go and how quickly it can cross the line into recklessness. If there's one takeaway, it's this. Ingenuity kept farms running in tough times, but many of these shortcuts cost far more than they saved, sometimes in equipment and sometimes in lives. Which mod shocked you the most? Drop your pick in the comments and tell us whether you've ever seen anything crazier in a barn or yard. If you've got a story or a photo, share it. We might feature the best ones in a future video. If you found this video eye-opening or just a little terrifying, smash that like button, subscribe for more unbelievable tractor stories, and hit the bell so you don't miss the next one. And a quick safety note, please don't try any of these modifications. Modern equipment and safety rules exist for a reason.